I'm not sponsored by. I mean, are we sponsoring this?
No.
So not sponsored.
Okay, I mean, Seth has done a great job and he's going to be proven.
Right, today I have a very special guest with me on this segment of Drinking with Seth. Right, it's none other than my big boss, Christopher Tan. So Chris, do you mind saying a few words to introduce yourself to those who might not know you?
Yeah, I'm Chris and I'm the big boss of Seth.
That's true.
That's true, yes. Okay, but I'm the CEO of Providend. Providend is, we used to say Singapore, but I was reminded that Providend is actually Southeast Asia's first fee-only wealth advisory firm. And we are most likely still the sole fee-only comprehensive wealth advisory firm in Singapore. And I've been in this business for the last 25 years, or rather been in the industry for the last 25 years, with Providend 22 years.
Let's start with a very difficult question first.
Okay,
Right. What's your favorite drink?
it's not Coke. I seldom drink Coke. The only reason why I'm drinking Coke right now because Seth says that for this episode we need to drink something.
Yeah.
And there is nothing else in the studio except Coke. So my favorite drink, I would say, would be teh C lah. Every day I need to drink teh C. And I have this joke with my wife. And I said that next time when I die, every morning at the funeral, she needs to put one teh C in front of my picture. Yeah, so I think it would be teh C.
Okay. So let's move on with the rest of the questions. 20 plus years ago, you started Providend, right? So what actually went through your mind at the time? Well, I understand actually you're doing very well at the time, right?
Yeah.
Double MDRT. And at the time, MDRT was something actually very difficult to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also top rookie?
Yes, I was rookie agent 1998. I joined the industry in 1998. That year was a tough year for most people because we just ended the Asian financial crisis of 97. So a lot of clients, if they have invested in investment-linked policy, they probably got hit by the Asian financial crisis. And also a lot of people lost their job. So 1998 was not a very good year for the financial services industry. But I was new. I didn't know all these things will affect the industry, and I did well enough to be number two, not top, number two rookie in the insurance company. And yes, you are right. I did well. By the time I left the insurance company, I mean I didn't stay there for very long. I only stayed 3 years. And by the time I left the industry, the insurance industry, I was making like 200 to 250K.
In 98.
When I left was 2001.
Oh.
Yeah,
still 20
started,
plus years ago.
Yeah, about 25 years ago. So in 1998, when I first became a rookie, I was making close to about maybe 120, 150,000, thereabout. Not bad. I was only 28 years old. I mean, even by today's standard, it's not bad. That was 1998. But like I said, when I left in 2001, it was about 200, 250. I can't really remember. Why did I leave? I think I've shared this many times before. It was because I didn't join the industry wanting to just be an insurance advisor. I wanted to give advice. I wanted to give holistic financial advice. And at that time, this whole thing about financial planning, wealth management really just started in Singapore. We didn't have the Financial Advisors Act back then. So if you want to give advice, either join the insurance industry, or you join the stockbroking firm, or you join the bank. So I joined the insurance industry, and the agency that I joined told me that they're going to do a lot of financial planning and all that. But after 3 years, I felt that we weren't really going that way. I was just selling plenty of products. Good money. Wasn't very happy at all. But the trigger really came when I went to see this big client, a gentleman that is much older than me then, and I presented him a product, and he looked at it, and then he put down the benefit illustration, all that, and looked at me and said, Chris, I like you, right? And each time when you come, I definitely will buy something from you. But surely there will come a time whereby I don't need insurance anymore. And I felt very bad. I thought that I was helping him, but actually he was just supporting me because he liked me. I felt very bad that he's doing this for me because it's true. There will definitely come a time whereby people may not need insurance anymore, right? So that was a trigger. I was really not happy, But that was the trigger, and I decided to leave, and of course subsequently started Providend in 2000.
So since then, it's been 20 over years, right? So the landscape, what do you think has changed or remained the same all these years?
I think definitely many things have changed over the last 25 years. The regulations have become tighter. Today, the industry has become a lot more tech-enabled. Back in those days, I mean, we are still using dot matrix printer to print out benefit illustration. You need to get it physically signed, wet ink, and all that. But today, everything is done over the laptop. Today, the advisors are younger, they are better educated for sure. Back in those days, I mean, a lot of agents, they can be O-level and they can be insurance agent going out there to give advice. But today, there's a minimal standard, and a lot of the advisors are a lot more educated. There are a lot of degree holders. So these things have changed. But I think the way advice is being given, I think hasn't changed very much. It is still very much product advice, packaged with financial planning. But at the end, a product needs to be transacted, because most of the time the industry is commission based, and if a product doesn't get transacted, the advisor doesn't get compensated. That's not changed. A lot of cold calling, no change. Road shows, no change. It's still like that. So yeah, I mean, many things have changed, but the way business are being conducted, maybe it's more classy, wrapped with a nicer wrapping paper. I think these things still remain very much the same.
So are you surprised that it's been 20 years since the Financial Advisors Act, right? There's still tied agents around, or that commission is still the most dominant form. Yeah, nothing much seems to have changed, according as you mentioned just now, the way advice is given.
I don't think I am surprised that the industry remains primarily commission based. I don't think I'm surprised that there are still a lot of commission based insurance agents around, because looking at what is happening in the other developed markets like the US, Australia, UK, a lot of the advisors are very much, especially in the area of insurance, they can still be taking a commission, right? And so I'm not surprised. I'm just surprised that there aren't that many fee-only advisors. When I first started Providend in 2001 and subsequently licensed in 2003, I thought that 5 years later we are going to have a lot of fee-only advisors coming out. I remember saying that 5 years later I'll see a lot of fee-only advisors. And until today, I don't think there are any comprehensive wealth advisory firm that is fee-only. I mean, there are investment advisors, they call themselves fee-only. There are, but as a comprehensive wealth advisory firm, I haven't seen any. So I'm surprised that there hasn't been any development in that area. But I'm not surprised that commission-based advisors and insurance advisors are still.
So where do you see the industry or the financial advisory landscape moving in the next 10 or even 20 years? Now that 20 years has passed since you started Providend.
Yeah, I mean, whatever I say is probably going to be wrong. Yeah, because 20 years is a very long time, and 20 years ago when I predicted that 5 years later we're going to see more fee-only advisors, right? I was obviously very, very wrong. Now, I think commission-based advisors will still be around. But I need to say this, that it is not that I think commission-based advisors are bad. It is not that commission-based advisors are dishonest. It doesn't mean that the person that takes commission will give bad advice. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that commissions present that inherent conflict of interest. We have to recognize that, right? I mean, I did that in the initial years. There is always that temptation. I need to fight that temptation that certain products will give me a more lucrative commission. So we have to recognize that commission is an inherent conflict of interest. It is not the same as saying that commission-based advisors are bad. Right? So I think commission-based advisors will still be around in the next 5, 10, I don't know whether 20 years very far, but certainly I think 5, 10 years, they will still be around. I think it's important for them to be around because although we are a fee-only firm, our 20 years of experience tells us that only the more affluent will and should pay us a fee for advice, right? Because their financial situations are more complex, and it warrants them paying us a fee to give them honest, independent, and competent advice. And it's probably more cost efficient for them to pay us a fee for advice. But there are a lot of people out there, their financial situations are a lot simpler, especially if they are younger, fresh graduate, no liabilities, not married, right? Or there are some people who they just want to do a transaction. I just want to buy an insurance product and I know exactly what I want. The commission base is probably the more cost efficient way. But it is just whether you can find an advisor who recognizes the conflict of situation or the conflict of interest situation and find ways intentionally to mitigate it.
Hey, right, reminds me of a story last time when I was a commission agent, and then my friend wanted to buy insurance, and I compared, term policy with him, whole life policy with him, and based on his profile, I feel that term would have been so much better. But he was more comfortable with the idea of whole life. And the ironic thing was, it earned me more commission to sell him the whole life. And I have to keep persuading him, the term is better, but he said he want whole life. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I earn more from that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's funny.
I'm not surprised that you have this experience or you had this experience because I think that over the past few decades, the industry has done such a great job in convincing people that it is better to buy a whole life plan. Now, we are not against whole life plan. We believe that there is a need for whole life plan for certain situations, such as paying for alternative medicine. So if you want to have protection to pay for alternative medicine or medical expenses that cannot be covered by the hospitalization plan, such as the integrated shield plan, then buying a whole life plan with critical illness is probably the way to go. But in most situations, actually a term plan will suffice. But somehow, for the last few decades, I think the industry has done a great job putting that fear factor in and say, what happens if you need insurance most and then you don't get insurance more because your term runs out, right? Therefore, you should buy a whole life plan. So I'm not surprised. I remember several years ago, I gave a talk and there was this very senior gentleman who came up to me after I gave that lecture of insurance, and he said, Chris, I disagree with you. I bought my whole life plan, it was like, I think, $100,000. And now, when I surrender it, I have some money, I got cash values already. If I had listened to you 20, 30 years ago, my term would have expired, I would have gotten nothing back. So you see, it's better for me to buy the whole life plan as opposed to what you said, buy the term plan. It sounded like he's right or he was right, but actually it's wrong. And so my reply to him was, yes, I understand where you're coming from, but you are very blessed because nothing happened to you between then and now. If something had happened to you, your family would have been insufficiently covered. Because at the time you could only afford 100,000 whole life plan with the amount of premium you can afford, right? You are only looking at cash values today because you survived the 30 years, right? But the primary purpose of buying a whole life or the primary purpose of buying insurance is not so that 30 years ago you can get a surrender value. If you know that you're going to live 30 years and get money, then you just buy insurance.
Just invest it. Yeah.
You buy insurance for protection and you want to make sure that you protect yourself sufficiently. So you're going to look back 30 years ago and say, had something happened to me, would I be sufficiently covered? And then you will realize that whole life is probably not the best way to do it.
And in a sense, he's also paying for the returns that he got eventually. Right?
Yeah,
Because-
which, like you said, he probably would have been able to get a better return through investments. But I know the counter argument to that because I've heard that as an objection to what we believe in all this while. The objection to that is, hey, not everybody knows how to invest. Yeah, they should just buy a whole life plan because not everybody knows how to invest, right? And I always get the way frustrated, upset by that comment because my reply would be, well, you are the financial advisor, right? We hold ourselves out as a good advisor. the same quality of advice that we give for insurance, we must give for investments, right? So you cannot say that your client doesn't know how to invest, right? You should be then you should say then that, okay, I will find the best solution for you for protection. That's term because it's the cheapest way to get yourself sufficiently covered. And then the investment you don't know, it's okay. I will help you do it. Not knowing how to invest is a lousy excuse to say then I'll sell a whole life plan. Again, I have to say, it's not that we don't believe in whole life, we're just going to use that plan for the correct purpose.
So just now you mentioned that the higher net worth will find it more prudent or maybe more worth it to engage fee-only advisors like us. How about the everyday man on the street, right? If they want conflict-free advice, would what is the model or what is the answer to that? Like there are some people who really just do not want to have the kind of conflicts that commission can bring. Yeah. So is there an answer that Providend has for these people?
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing about conflict of interest, I mean, recently, as you know, I wrote an article on it on the Business Times. I mean, 20 years ago, I will tell you that the fee-only model is the best model because it's free of all conflict. I mean, 20 years have passed. I have definitely matured in my views, and I've traveled to different parts of the world. And my realization is that whichever model we are in, there will always be a conflict of interest. Even for us as a fee-only model, I mean, today we don't take commissions, we charge a fee for advice. There is still a conflict, and that conflict can come in the form of overcharging, right? I mean, I only need 10 hours to do your work, but I charge you for 20 hours of work, or I purposely lengthen the whole process to charge you, right? That's a possibility. Or actually, you only need to invest 100,000, but I work out in such a way whereby you will invest 500,000 so that I can charge you more management fee, right? So we still have a conflict. Even the fee-only model has a conflict. But the fee-only model, to me, is the easiest model, or is the model that is easiest to mitigate the conflict, right? You know what we do, right? So when you come, I look at the amount of work that needs to be done. I tell you that this is the fee that we will charge you. The clients himself will decide whether, wow, is it worth it? If I'm going to pay this amount, is it really, really worth that amount that I'm paying? Do I really see value? If I don't see value, I'll not sign a letter of engagement. We don't have a client. But if I see value and I say, yeah, I think it's worth that amount, I sign a letter of engagement as a client, that amount is fixed for us. And if I overrun the time, actually I realize my estimation is wrong and I need more time, we don't increase the fee. We take it as our mistake, right? So that is, in a way, how we mitigate that advisory fee problem. In terms of asset under advice or asset under management, I mean, we explain to our clients exactly how we estimate for you the amount that you need. The assumptions are all clear to the clients, and we work out that amount that you need to invest. And if the amount comes out to be larger than what is needed, and you as a client, our clients are not stupid. They know that we have exaggerated the amount. So to me, the fee-only model is easier, right? It's easier to mitigate. In fact, I mean, you have been with us for a while. You know that we don't really make money charging the initial advisory fee. We make money when clients stay with us for a long time. So we are not like in the business of anyhow charging the initial fee, because if the clients they don't stay with us, if we don't deliver the promises that we promised them, they're going to leave. They're not going to make money, right? So the fee only model is easiest. But for the man in the street, because their financial situations are so simple, or the financial situation is very simple, much simpler, paying that fee may not be worth it. Therefore, going to the commission-based advisor may be their best option. But there's a conflict of interest. No way, you can't run away from it. Even the fee-only model, like I said, is conflict. So what more the commission-based? What if you are watching this and you are the consumer? It is your job, it is your right to ask your commission-based advisor, look, you have a conflict of interest. Please don't say you don't have a conflict of interest. Please tell me, how will you mitigate the conflict of interest? Right. So for Providend, I mean, we have been thinking about this for a long time. and we might do something that will be able to serve the man in the street in the very near future to mitigate this conflict of interest.
Exclusive announcement on my channel.
Subtle, okay, it's coming very, very soon. Yeah, look out for it. Yeah, but we want to go out there and be very transparent and say, come on, call a spade a spade. If you have conflict, just say you have conflict, right? But list down all the ways that you are going to mitigate this particular conflict of interest.
Because I mean, I looked at our own fee schedule, and sometimes even the man on the street, if they really know the commissions that they are paying, actually it can be a lot higher than the fees that we charge. And I'm not sponsored by. I mean, are we sponsoring this?
No.
So not sponsored. Okay, bye.
Or
Performance
you
bonus.
mean I'm supposed to sponsor this?
Yeah. So so actually our fees, for the man on the street, it also makes sense to pay a fee, and then they avoid all the commissions that they pay. Because if you really look at the commissions that some products have, it's quite scary, right? It's even more than what we charge. So
Yeah. It's just that I'll be honest here. It's this whole thing on fee saliency. There is a cost that is incurred in providing a fee advice. I mean, you know how we set up a fee for service company, right? You see our setup is not just yourself as a client advisor. There's a whole team of people supporting you, the investment team, the solutions team, because we don't believe that you can be an expert in every area, right? So with to hire all these people, those are huge costs. And so to deliver certain level of advice, you want to ensure quality advice to the man in the street, even the man in the street. There is a certain minimum of fees that we have to. I can't charge $100 or $150 fee. I can't. I just cannot be commercially viable. Right? I need to be commercially viable to stay as a going concern with certain client. So I need to charge something reasonable, $1,000, $2,000. But if man the street, you're not paying. Even, and we've tried this before, it's not that we've not tried this before. We first tried it in 2005. In 2005, we launched a service called commission-free insurance. So basically, we say this, the fee is like, I think, $1,000. And whatever insurance commission that we get back, we're going to rebate you 100%. And most times, the commission is going to be more than $1,000, right? Just makes sense, right? But it was a flop because the man in the street, they cannot accept the fact that I need to pay $1,000 first, even though they're going to get $2,000 rebate later, right? And I mean, we got a lot of people coming to us and saying, why do I pay you $1,000? My insurance agent, he doesn't charge me. Right? So I know it doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. We couldn't make it work. People just don't want to pay that fee.
So fee saliency means whether or not you know of the fee.
Fee saliency means whether the fee that we charge is acceptable by the market for that particular segment, right? So for the mass market or the man industry, right, there is a certain somehow mental block that I will not pay 1,000. I may pay 100, I may pay 50, but I'm not going to pay 1,000, right? I can't survive with a $50 financial plan, right?
So even though the commission is a lot higher, but because they don't feel it, so what you don't know can't hurt you. They just ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have watched that TikTok, right? Of a group of advisors saying that, I mean, what's wrong? Anyway, when my clients buy the policy from me, it is them, it's not them who are paying, it's the insurance companies that are paying me. And then I went, what do you mean? But even if advisors can think that way, okay, and then group advisors, they weren't lying, you know. I mean, I have to, I know that they weren't lying. It's just they really thought that for some reason that the insurance companies are paying that. But you know, if the advisors can think that way, all the more consumers believe, right, that I'm not paying you, Seth. I'm okay with commission, right? It's the insurance company that pays you, right? It comes from the consumers. And that's why if you surrender your policy, your first few years get nothing back. So I think there's this whole people don't really understand this whole thing about who pays commission, you know, and so therefore they are always asking, so why should I pay a fee? Commission is okay. No, I pay what the product manufacturers pay.
My favorite saying, the Chinese saying, 羊毛出在羊身上.
Yeah, you gotta, I mean, it's come from somewhere, right?
Translate that.
Okay.
The sheepskin come from the sheep.
羊毛吗？
羊
羊毛 is the
毛
sheep fur.
Sheep fur. Okay, so I got a lot of comments on my video. Am I allowed to say that there was a MS complaint?
Yes, okay, so
So this I have to check with you first, otherwise I have to cut off.
well, yeah, that video that you did, so we had someone writing to us or wrote to us, copied through MES, right?
Clearly an agent.
I'm not sure. He didn't say. She didn't. Or it's a she. She didn't say. Yeah, but I mean, I'll reply to her at MAS is that, well, that's Seth's blog, right? As much as we, I mean, there are a lot of things that are similar in terms of your values and your beliefs. That's why you're with us, right? But it is ultimately your blog. And we told her that if she's not happy, she should engage you, and you have a good discussion, and see each other points and views and resolve that, right? So I mean, that was the reply. We didn't hear anything from her anymore.
Or MES.
No, we have not. Yeah, I mean, I think MES understands, right? It's a personal blog. Yeah, but I guess as an influencer, we just all have to be quite careful what we say, because as the name implies, right? Influencer, we have huge influence. With huge influence comes great responsibility. Well, that sounds like Spider-Man. Okay. Spider-Man is with power, it comes great responsibility, right? Yeah, so as much as we want to educate people, we just have to be careful. But there will always be haters, Seth.
Yeah, there's this person who just left a lot of comments on my video saying, oh, I'm a failed agent, I'm a liar, or something like that. Yeah, so why do you think they have such a big reaction to my videos?
I don't know, but actually I don't understand why it's a failed agent. So that's the
I
problem.
think it's referring to in the past where I was commission based, and then
Yeah,
I was trying to sell term, trying to sell ethical solution, and then I was earning very little money.
Yeah, so therein is a fraudulent slip, right? Because the industry view of a successful agent is MDRT, COT, TOT.
And income also.
Yeah, so if you don't have COT, MDRT, TOT, and whatever, English T or whatever, right? You're a failed agent, right? So that is the perception of the industry, right? Which is wrong, right? Because sales volume doesn't mean quality of life. Right? But I thought that particular comment is a fraudulent slip, because that's what the industry thinks. But no, I mean, quality advice has nothing to do with sales volume. I mean, you have shared many times in your video, and that's the reason why I found you. I like the fact that you were trying to do something right. Okay, and because you decided to do something right, and you realized that from an income perspective, it wasn't helping you, left. And when I approached you, I said that I'll join us because I'm going to make sure that you can do something right, but still earn a decent income. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know why people put it that you're a failed agent, you are dishonest. But like I said, there will always be haters when I have my fair share, right? So just accept that. And I shared with you before, it's actually good, right? That all these things are coming out. Okay, because you must have said something right. When I asked you whether there were consumers who any consumers left behind nasty remarks, I said no, right? And that's my experience when I first started 20 years ago. When I go out there and I talk to the prompts and commission, and I went for term and all that, I get a lot of encouragement from consumers. And then, wow, I kena hantam until blue black by the industry. No friends. I go for industry events and nobody wants to talk to me. And so I was thinking to myself, I must have been doing something right lah. Of course, I shared with you as well that my posture could have been better. I was only 31 years old, young, and I was full of fire. I want to go out there and evangelize and preach to the world. And so the posture wasn't really right. Yeah, but then I must have said something right for people to be, for the industry to be so upset with me.
Yeah. I think whenever I see a negative comment, I ask the person, "Are you an agent?" And then it's always an agent who's upset by that. Right? The appreciative comments tend to be people who have bought or they were planning to buy and then they saw my video and then they reconsidered.
But I mean, of course, we can also understand why the industry. I mean, today on hindsight, I can understand. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, right? Why the industry was angry with me.
Yeah,
Because
their rice bowl.
rice bowl plus, I think for me, the many of the comments I made was pretty judgmental, and may not be 100% true because I do know many commission-based advisors who generally want to or genuinely wants to do a good job. And having spent 3 years in the industry or in the insurance industry, honestly, when I first started, I was selling what I was trained to sell. I didn't have enough knowledge. I've sold plenty of ILPs. I just have got a client who called me just last week, who called me and said, Grace, this ILP that you sold, should I keep it?
Awkward.
Yeah, but I repented 20 years ago. And my clients all knew it when I go out there and I say, don't buy ILP, right? And I've already got clients, how about you sold me? Right? And so what do I do? I can't turn back the clock, right? But do I continue doing that just because I did it 25 years ago? Right? So yeah, of course, some clients they got angry with me. Some no longer contacted me. Yeah, but this one client, I mean, we are not enemies. It was very cordial, but she simply asked me, "What do I do with it?" So I have to sit down with her and try and restructure and make it right.
So let's say in an alternate universe and Providend didn't exist, right? What business we have done ourselves, personal finance and financial advisory?
Yeah, it's very difficult to answer this question. I mean, I started out as an army officer. And I thought I always wanted to do HR, and I ended up doing sales. It was the last job I wanted to do. I can't say what I want to do, but it was because of say, right, that I'm going to retire one day. Right? And I'm very clear that when I retire, I want to go into the coaching business, not to make money. Very hard to make money with coaching. And I'm not talking about money coaching or all that. I'm talking about life coaching. I won't call it a business. It's something that I really want to do because I feel that in life coaching, I can impact lives. Right? And I've been doing quite a bit of that even in the work that we do at Providend, right? Because we always believe in making life decisions before financial decisions, and how to get clients to make life decisions is through life coaching. Right? I really enjoy that part because I can directly impact lives. And so when my time at Providend is up, we hand it over to the next generation at Providend, and I'm no longer going to do this finance thing because finance can be very stressful. I'm probably going to go and do life coaching. Yeah, and have fun with life coaching.
Right. I think last question. Today actually is I think exactly the 1 year mark since I joined.
Oh, really? Is that why you chose today to do
No,
it?
it's just coincidental.
Oh, okay.
I think I was appointed 6th or 7th July.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts so far? Am I going to keep this job? Yeah. I ambush you with this question. Because you hired me after seeing my video, right? So a year on, what do you think? Yeah, have I?
I just to say you've done a great job. You're gonna get promoted.
That'd be great.
Okay, I mean Seth has done a great job and he's gonna be promoted.
Okay, that's a very good opener for my
Yeah, but I mean,
video.
well, we haven't really started.
Yeah, actually true.
Because when you joined us in July last year, we hired you plus two of your other colleagues, mainly to serve a segment that all this while Providend couldn't serve. Because all this while we were serving the more affluent families. They are usually the more senior ones. They are usually nearing retirement or in retirement. They have wealth. And why is it like that? It's not because we belittle people with lesser money. It is, again, fee saliency. It's usually people of that kind of net worth, that kind of wealth, that their financial situation is complex enough for them to want to pay us a fee for good advice. Right? So they come to us. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not easy for us to serve people of lesser wealth, especially the mainstream. But in the recent years, we have clients, or rather inquiries, not clients, that comes in. They are in their mid-30s, late 30s, good careers, doctors, professionals, and we always have to turn them away because we just cannot serve them. Right? We don't have the, I mean, we are not a typical financial advisory firm that has got hundreds of advisors. Right? I mean, we have less than 10 client advisors. Before you and your colleagues join us, we have less than 10. So we can't serve everyone. So we unfortunately got to turn them away. We have also got our clients' children whom they have grown up to become successful professionals. And they have a need, but we couldn't serve them. Right? So now we decided that, well, we really need to hire a team of people who were specialized in serving this segment, the mass affluent segment. They are young, good income earners. Their situation is getting more complex. They've got parents to take care of. They have got young children. They've got mortgage to pay, loans, and they still want to live a life. And they want to get it right. They don't want to make costly mistakes. They want to start making good decisions with money. Right? So that's why we started the wealth segment. We call it the wealth segment. That's our internal term, right? And you and two of your other colleagues are in this segment to serve them. So we haven't really started actually because the last 6 months was a time of training, getting the process right, making sure that the advice that you all give, they are deep enough, deciding on the fee model, how much should we charge, reasonably charge, and things like that, right? So we have really just started. So like you mentioned, you're going to do an insurance webinar. It's sort of like a launch, right? Whereby we're going to go out there now and encourage people of this segment and say, hey guys, if you have this need, do come to us. We are pretty confident that you will be happy with the quality of advice, the depth of advice that you are getting. Right? And we are now able, because of the economies of scale, we have grown to a size where we have the economy of scale, we have enough advisors now to be able to serve this. So yeah, I mean, I thank you for joining us for the last 12 months. I mean, not a lot of action. You see clients here and there, but not really a lot of
Make controversial videos.
make controversial videos. Make lesser. Yeah, but yeah, continue doing what you do. I mean, when you join us, I told you that I'm not going to stop you from your blogging activity, right? We just give you some advice in terms of compliance, what not to say, and make sure you keep it very separate. But I'm not stopping you because it is a channel that you get to express yourself. It's your channel of educating people. Yeah, so keep doing what you are doing, and we are excited when we really launch, and you really start seeing many more clients. The kind of impact that you and your teammates will make to this special segment of people, the mass affluent.
So yeah, I'm having an insurance webinar next week. I think, yeah. So I just like to hear your views.
Control your frustration.
Yeah. I'd like to hear your views. So we have a quick fire round on different insurance products. Okay. So the first would be whole life plans.
But now ILP, the one that got into trouble.
That one would be the last one because we spend the most time.
Okay.
So whole life plans.
Yeah, whole life plans. Yeah, I mean, I've explained it already, right? I think we are not saying that there is no need for whole life plans. There is certain situation whereby whole life plans are useful. If you are buying to pay for medical expenses that cannot be covered by hospitalization plans, then a whole life plan is useful. But in most situations, if you are buying insurance, for example, to replace the loss of income of the income earner due to death, disability, or a medical condition, a term plan would suffice.
Endowment plan, long-term, 25-year.
Endowment plans are fine, except that if you are going to use endowment plan to save towards retirement or funding of your children's education or a life event, it's going to take you a long time, or you need to put aside a lot of money because the returns are not great. Okay, but it does gives you the feeling that it is safe, because the thing about insurance plans, endowment savings plan, is that you don't experience the volatility. For people who are low income, not financially savvy, not investment savvy, sometimes I think maybe when they buy an endowment plan, it's better that they don't save at all. But we don't use it with our clients because we take a lot of pain to educate our clients on how to do their investments, and all that. And endowment plan it just take too long to be able to achieve your goals.
So retirement products.
Retirement income plans returns are not great. Okay, so if you are looking at RI plans from the return point of view, they are really lousy. However, it serves a different purpose. It gives you certainty of income to fund your essential expenses in your retirement. And essential expenses are expenses that you must spend regardless of whatever happens. Right? And if you want to have certainty, you can use the retirement income plan to complement CPF Life. Because CPF Life is without a doubt the best annuity plan in Singapore. The downside of the CPF Life is that there is a maximum you can put in. As a couple, the most you can get from age 65 onwards is in the region of $4,000 as a couple. Right? And if you think that $4,000 is insufficient to fund your die must spend expenses, the essential expenses, then you supplement it with retirement income. You understand that the returns are not great, but it gives you certainty.
Okay, second last one, term policies.
Term policies is the best for most situations. Why? Because it is low cost. And I want to take this opportunity to say, I kept hearing this, right? People say, buy term, invest the rest, buy term, invest the rest. And I kept saying that, no, let's not put them together. Buying term is not for the purpose of investing the rest. Buying term is because it is the most affordable way to get yourself sufficiently covered. Throw away the investment side. Right? Even if you don't know how to invest, you are buying term because it is the most affordable way to get yourself sufficiently covered in most situations. And so we do a lot of term, we recommend a lot of term for our clients because you are able to get them sufficiently covered. And also because we look at insurance as an expense. It's not something that you want to activate. You are happy that you don't activate it at all. You are happy to let the insurance policy lapse or not lapse. You are happy to let it end without you having the need to claim. So because it's an expense, therefore we want to spend as little as we can, but buy as much as we need to cover our risk. Term meets that requirement because you can spend as little as you can and buy as much as you can. If you are able to do that, then you leave behind more surpluses to accumulate towards your main plan, which is retirement and other more important objectives. So that's why I always say insurance is not the main plan. Insurance is the support plan. Your main plans is your plans for, or are your accumulation plans. It's just you are worried that halfway something happens. I got my support plan to make sure that my family or myself can get there. So don't spend too much money on a support plan.
Okay, and the last one, I think the most lately has been quite controversial.
Yeah.
Right?
ILPs.
ILPs. Investment linked policies.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's supposed to be quick fire, but I think you can take all the time you want.
Yeah.
For this.
ILPs have become complicated. Yeah, I mean in the past,
They used to be complicated already. And
yeah, now it's worse. Yeah. I mean, during my time, almost 25 years ago, ILP, you just have protection ILP, and then you may have single premium ILP, and that's about it, very few funds. But today, ILPs have evolved. I need to give credit to the insurance company for evolving the ILP to what it is today for two reasons. The cost has come down quite a lot. Secondly, they now have more funds. They even have index funds. And of course, they have funds like the AI kind of funds that in the past, if you're not a accredited investor, you have no access to it. So I need to give the insurance companies credit for improving the ILP to where it is today. But we don't use it. Providend, we don't use it. Why? There are a few reasons why we don't use it. Now, it's a bit difficult to explain it in a session like this, but I'll try and make it as easy to understand as possible. Now, in an ILP, I mean, there are many costs, but the two big costs, one is the fund cost or the annual management fee charged by the underlying fund manager. Sometimes in our industry, we call it TER, your total expense ratio, right? That takes up a huge cost. And then on top of that, they add in additional one more layer of costs. In our industry, that can be seen like a rep fee. So the total cost of the ILP is not just the fund management cost, it could be other costs involved. So if you look at the total cost of an ILP, let's say, for example, let's say it's about 1.35%. Now, if you compare to what financial advisors charge today, so if the financial advisor use active unit trust, maybe that TER could be 1.5%. And if the financial advisors charge another 1% on it, then it's 2.5. So you compare the 2.5 with the 1.35, the ILP seems cheaper. Right? So the ILP has evolved in that way. Now, but does that mean that the ILP is better? The problem is this. The problem is that usually when an ILP is sold, it's sold as a product. What happens after the product is sold? Well, I would say most of the time, nothing very much gets done. The advisor don't see themselves having to go and risk coach the clients. There is no need to rebalance. There is no need to go and look at the underlying funds, and then the advisors actively go and tell the clients that I think to switch out this fund because I think this fund is no longer performing up to expectation. You see, all this work that goes into fund management or portfolio management, after the ILP is done, so usually no more work, right? So even though 1.35 versus 2.5 is cheaper, the downside risk is that you are perpetually holding to an ILP that may be constantly underperforming. And in the end, even though you pay lesser, the outcome might not be good. You've heard a lot of people on social media channel talking about, yeah, this ILP, it's been 10, 20 years and still making money. That's one of the reasons. Now, how about you compare to Providend? So Providend, we use underlying funds that are a lot cheaper. We either use index, we use ETFs, right? We have portfolios that wrap unit trust with ETFs, and our TER can be as low as say 0.2%, right? And even if we charge a rep of 1%, we don't always charge 1%, but even if we charge a rep 1%, we call it ongoing advice fee of 1%, it's 1.2. So we take 1.2% Providend, let's say, all in, as compared to 1.35, let's say, of the ILP. I'm not saying ILP charges 1.35. I don't have the figures now, but let's say it's 1.35. And you may say that it's quite close, right? Quite close, right? You know the amount of work that we put in the ongoing advice, right? So it's different. I mean, we're going to put behind a whole investment team to constantly look at the funds and making sure that the funds perform. If they don't, we change. we have to constantly consider whether we can put more things in to make the investment experience better. We just did a webinar recently about our consideration in putting tips into the portfolio, which we in the end didn't, but we explained it. I mean, we have to do this work, right? We have to constantly rebalance the portfolio. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that go into this 1%. So that's the reason why we don't use ILP. For us, we separate it. We can access many of these funds. And I also know that some people will say that the thing about ILP is not just the cost is high, but the surrender charges is high. A lot of cost is front-loaded. But then the sales pitch is this, that that's true. Then investors won't surrender early. That will encourage them to stay invested for the long term. It's like saying you buy a whole life plan so that you forget to pay premiums. You want lapse.
Actually heard that kind of argument before.
Yeah. Buy term, you forget to pay. Like,
yeah, I heard that.
and I'm like, we cannot be spending so much more money just to solve a very simple problem, right? Right? I mean, there are many other options to solve in preventing someone lapsing the policy. I mean, it cannot be the cost is so high just to solve a small problem. And I'm not even talking about the additional premium cost of life. I'm talking about the cost of under-insuring if you buy whole life, right? Throw whole life a bit away, let's come back to ILP. So it cannot be that in order to encourage investor to stay invested for the long term, I penalize you by loading you high surrender charges. And there are other ways of doing it. There are other better ways of doing it.
And the advisor is supposed to keep the client invested.
And we know we do a lot of that. I mean, we spend a lot of time educating the client since the first meeting that they meet up with us and throughout their lifetime with us. I mean, your YouTube channel, I mean, I can spend 2 hours talking about what we do, but we don't have time. But you know, the amount of education we put in, not just education, when the market become volatile, all the work that we put in place to communicate, to call clients, to hold their hands, you know, and all that. There are many ways. There is no need to lock someone's hands just so that we want to solve this problem. And what if someone really needs to get out? What if someone really needs to get out? Now, he'll be slapped with high surrender charges. So we don't use ILP because we don't like the lock-in feature. We don't like the lock-in feature. We don't like the inflexibility. That's why we don't use it. We also don't like the fact that the funds are limited. So yes, you may buy this ILP now because you get access to this AI fund, and which in the past you cannot, and based on history, they might have performed well, blah blah blah. In any case, we don't use ILPs because a lot of the underlying funds are active. We don't like to use forecasting kind of funds. But let's say, yes, this particular fund has got good performance and you buy the ILP because of that. What happens if that particular fund manager decides to disassociate themselves with the insurance company? It's possible. What happens if this fund managers underperform? And now you're going to switch out. And you want to switch out. Let's say there aren't enough good funds for you to switch out. Then you are now stuck with the policy with a different fund and no longer being able to access this fund that you initially wanted to access, or even if it's available, you don't want to access anymore because it's bad. So we don't like that inflexibility. We like to be able to, well, if someone is not underperforming, no matter what they say and how good they say they are, I want to have the full flexibility to switch my client's money into something that will perform. I want that flexibility. So for these reasons, we don't use ILPs. But I mean, having said all these reasons, and after explaining all these reasons, why Providend we don't use ILPs for our clients. But if you can accept, you know, some of these disadvantages, constraints of an ILP, I'm not stopping you, right? I mean, go ahead, right? If you really like the fund, go and buy it, and you say that no, it's okay. I can accept this lack of flexibility. Actually, I don't need my agent to hold my hand because I can do it myself. Yeah, go ahead. It's just that we don't use it for the reasons that I've shared.
I think that's a way more politically correct than how I put it. in my own videos.
Because 20 years ago, I like you, I don't know how to save water. So, wow, then after that, graphite center, now injured. So now I know how to save better. Lah.
All right, so thanks, Chris, for your time. And yeah, subscribe to my Telegram group as well as my channel. And also sign up for the insurance webinar that I'll be hosting with Providend.
And check out our website, providend.com.
Okay, that's it.
When am I going to come back again?
Huh?
When I'm going to come back again?